it looks to me, as the two crews converge, that will, I'm sure, attract the attention of the umpire. It looks to me like the sculler from Wales, Llandaff, has had the better of the two starts there. She's just trying to break clear of the sculler from the USA. Of course, if you come over from the USA, Unar, you'd expect you to back yourself, wouldn't you? You'd expect a bit of speed in this sculler.
Yeah, definitely. It's a long way to travel to be beaten, but it's much better than getting the time trials and being knocked out then. So, she's done very well to get here.
So, Angarad, who's, again, I might be botching that pronunciation, Miss Broughton, an athlete currently part of the Welsh Rowing Start Centre, and she set a new course record at the Junior Sculling Regatta in 2017, winning the A final of the Women's Junior 16 doubles. And she took second place in the same event at the 2017 Home International Regatta. So she's an athlete with a bit of international experience. She knows what she's doing, and clearly a talented rower. Junior Rowing News that have written that they think Broughton will be most definitely one to watch out for in the coming races, and proving that prediction eerily accurate at this stage. Sculler 2.94. Angarad Broughton making her way down the course here, representing Wales at Henley Women's Regatta and doing a pretty good job of it so far. Don't think the sculler from Vashon Island will be too worried. She looks reasonably calm at this stage, and this race is certainly not over. That sort of margin in a single scull can be overturned in a matter of seconds. Passing the barrier there. Keeping one eye on that race as it unfolds. Llandaff leading Vashon Island by around a length. So race 169 now underway. Eve Larson of Chester Street Amateur Rowing Club on the Berkshire Station, and Anna Mavra of Tideway Scullers School on the Buckinghamshire Station. Look at that ferocious start from Chester Street there to get out to an early lead. That was quite impressive, wasn't it?
Yeah, she really laid down a course there, really.
Laid down some mega wattage.
Definitely.
Of course, starts like that, as ferocious and tenacious as they can be, and you feel like Superman when you do them. 10 strokes later, you're thinking, why on earth did I do that?
And you're really hurting.
Yes, absolutely. But then if you're a length up, 2 lengths up, as Eve
then she's able to control the race.
She is in control of the race, and she can now respond to everything that Anna Mavra throws at her, which is quite a significant thing in single sculls racing. Just keeping one eye, of course, on the top right-hand corner of your screen, ladies and gentlemen, the conclusion of race 168, Vashon Island Racing Llandaff Rowing Club, and Angarad Broughton putting in a very good show. The last time we checked in with her, leading her competition by around a length. Just waiting to see the resumption of that one. Argonaut, one of those oh so beautiful umpires launches that career up and down the Henley stretch, pretty much on constant rotation over the next 2 weeks, as 10 days after the Henley Women's Regatta finishes, the Henley Royal starts, and then shortly after that, Henley Town and Visitors. So a busy few weeks for people who live in Henley. Imagine plenty of support for both of these scullers as they make their way down the course. But at the moment, I have to say, Unar, Eve Larson in total control.
It's always fantastic to hear the support, especially for the single scullers, because it must really help them, because they don't have a cox calling them on, they only have their own minds to motivate them, and hearing those calls must really, really motivate them.
Well, I imagine it gives you an extra spurt, doesn't it?
Exactly.
Just a little bit of information on Eve Larson, for those wondering why she's dominating this race. She actually won the Women's J18 category at our home regatta and came 9th overall at both the Early ID Assessment in November and the GB Junior Trials at Nottingham this year. So she is a savvy competitor and knows what she's doing. But we'll keep an eye on that. She looks like she's got that one in hand. So we'll return to the start for race 170. Jade Lindo of Twickenham Rowing Club on the Berkshire Station and Madeline Pollard of Henley Rowing Club. So a bit of home interest on the Buckinghamshire Station in the third heat of the junior single sculls. Make that the 7th overall, but the third in this little batch of 4. You can see Twickenham on the right-hand side of your shot and Henley on the left as they come down, leaving behind the shadows of Temple Island, bracing themselves for the full scale of the Henley course. And you could expect that the Henley Rowing Club sculler here will have a pretty certain line. She'll know what she's doing.
Not only the home advantage, but Henley obviously have an incredibly strong junior crew. Some really, really good competitors.
Yeah, no, they don't mess around at junior level, Henley. They built up a bit of a dynasty. And my favourite little cliche of today is success breeds success. Year after year, they turn out quality crews. And at the end of the day, if you row in the Thames Valley and you're a young junior female athlete with potential, where would you do your rowing and sculling?
Probably Henley,
There we go. It's difficult for the clubs who also exist in the Thames Valley region. But we're waxing lyrical about how wonderful Henley are. We're not paying any attention to just how well Twickenham Rowing Club are doing here. And actually, not getting quite the camera angle we might want at this stage. But it looks to me like this race is pretty tight as they sweep past the quarter-mile mark on their way down the course. Just waiting to bring you a few confirmed results. Confirmed result of race 168 was a win for Llandaff Rowing Club. The verdict easily over Vashon Island Rowing Club, which surprises me somewhat because those two scullers were in reasonably close proximity with each other last time we checked in. But here we go, Unar. We've got a race on our hands. Neither sculler really kicking the backside out of it in terms of rate, are they? I don't know what rates you got them at as they came past.
I was just going to say they're rating exactly the same at 29.
29.
Each. So it's fairly relaxed for a race.
Well, then we could have, if they're both sort of high rate battle paddling alongside each other, we could be in for quite an explosive finish. Quite a long stroke from the Twickenham sculler. She leans right back at the finish, sets herself up nicely for the next stroke, but you do wonder whether that will make a difference to her ability to sprint.
That drone footage, absolutely fantastic from above, really showing you just how level these two boats are.
Well, that's the thing, it's put us in a spot of bother, Una, because we can't make it up anymore. We have to actually commentate on what's going on. There was a story once, Charlie Wigan commentating for Regatta Raid, I'm sure he won't mind me telling you this. He sat in a tree facing away from the racing and commentated on half of a race without ever seeing it once. Remarkable achievement, I thought anyway.
Wow.
A picture painter for
Wow.
a picture he hasn't even seen. But you can see both those scullers making their way down the course, Twickenham and Henley Rowing Club, pretty much bang in tandem with each other, which is quite a nice sight to see and sets us up well for what I expect to be a pretty big finish. Here we go. Henley just perhaps starting to stretch out a little bit. This is important now, the middle of the course. Who makes the decisive move?
Ooh. Henley quite a way into the middle of the course as well. Pushing that Twickenham rower right next to the booms.
Well, this is a fascinating encounter. And you're right, Henley using perhaps a little bit of nous, a little bit of experience there to just move across into the middle of the course. But we'll keep one eye on that because that's a great race unfolding. And we'll move back to the start for race 171, our last heat of the junior single sculls between American School Lambden on the Berkshire Station and Georgina Dooley of Agecroft Rowing Club on the Buckinghamshire Station. And Georgina, well, I have to say to you, her results speak for themselves. She was a winner of Sculler's Head in the junior single women's category, finalist at Women's Henley last year and a junior national champion last year as well. So she was 12th at senior trials this year, which is a remarkable achievement for a junior sculler. And you can see in your shot there, Georgina, her rating incredibly low at this stage, but it doesn't appear to be phasing her at all. She's keeping one eye on what's happening in our top right-hand corner there. It looks like the Henley sculler ups the rate and has responded and is trying to just make sure she doesn't allow Twickenham, Jade Lindo back into this one. It's Madeline Pollard of Henley Rowing Club, of course. As those two crews come up towards the line. But as we wait for that one to reach its conclusion, look at that from the Agecroft sculler.
She looks so relaxed. It's almost like she's not racing. It's amazing.
It's almost like she's very good at sculling.
Well, yeah, there could be that.
Yeah, Georgina Dooley really turning on the style, and I think, I wouldn't be putting my neck on the line and saying that she's perhaps the most proficient sculler we've seen in 8 of these heats.
I would agree with that. Yeah, very, very beautiful sculler.
Very, very, very much left the best till last at this stage, and Henley just winding it up there. Madeline Pollard coming up towards the line, and she's seen off the stern attentions all the way down the course of Jade Lindo of Twickenham Rowing Club, crossing the line there, assuming that the umpire chooses not to get involved with that one. We will confirm that result when we get it through.
Well fought race though. Both rowers should be very proud of that race.
Absolutely. Yeah, we like to see close contests. On that subject, we don't really have a close contest to talk about here. Georgina just sculling past our little commentary booth, and she's only 2 lengths up on the sculler from American School, but for whatever reason feels that sculling at what is about rate 24 is enough to actually see off the advances of her opposition. It's quite remarkable. She must fancy her ability to transfer low rate into boat speed.
That's incredible.
I suppose her stats speak for herself. Multiple national titles, medals all over the shop, senior and junior international representation. She ain't messing around.
No, she definitely did not come to play.
No, she did not.
She's out to destroy all the other singles.
Absolutely. And doing a pretty good job of that. I feel for the American School sculler who might have stood a better chance had she come up against a sculler who I'm running out of superlatives to describe here. A consummate performance.
The American sculler, though, is equally a good sculler, just not on the same level, unfortunately.
Well, missing a bit of horsepower, I think, if you look at how low Georgina is on the rating.
Oh, definitely.
And how composed and relaxed she looks. I think just she's got a few more watts to give.
Doesn't even look like she's breaking a sweat.
That's when you know someone's good, when they make it look that easy.
Definitely.
So as we watch Georgina Dooley make her way down the course, I imagine there'll be a lot of very interested universities keeping an eye on her progression. And we move on to one of my favourite events, Championship 8s. This is a very exciting one. It's a Durham Leander Molesey Marlow UL Plymouth Bristol composite, which is actually the GB under 23 8. That's my understanding. And they are racing Drexel University of the United States of America, who won their race yesterday. They brought their full varsity 8 with them and are coming off the back of a very impressive domestic season. But the GB under 23s here, Joe. I'm delighted to reintroduce Joe Brown to the commentary booth. GB under 23 8's really turning on the style here.
And also, I think one thing that's important to remember with this crew is that you've got so many different clubs in there with so many slightly different rowing styles that they've all got to gel together in such a short period of time. But clearly they seem to have gelled incredibly well together by the lead that they've just sneaked out in such a short period of time, looking incredibly composed. Much sharp catches, I would say, from the GB as they come past us now.
Well, you sort of feel for Drexel, don't you? Because they've come over from the USA to give Henley Women's Regatta a crack. The Drexel Dragons with the emblem on their blade, but they have just come up against what I'd describe as a classy crew.
And that's the difficulty with Henley Women's Regatta and with Henley Royal, is you can't pick the draw, unfortunately. And sometimes you come up against the winners in the first round, and if you hadn't done that, you would have got through to the semis. It's just an unfortunate way of doing things, but that's the nature of match racing.
Yeah, absolutely. And this boat containing a couple of notable names, not least under-23 silver medalist Chloe Brew and junior world champion Holly Dunford of Molesey Boat Club, who I remember watching at the National Schools Regatta coast to victory in the women's single scull category, and turning her enviable skill set to rowing now to help this 8 on their way down the course. And it would take a very brave man or woman to bet against this crew, wouldn't it, Jo?
Oh, absolutely. And I think what is worth noting for this crew as well is that a lot of these girls have not been amazing at rowing for their entire careers, and I think that's really important. It's what's so important about this regatta is that the young girls and the young women that are rowing actually get to see that, you know, perseverance does take place. You've got rowers in this crew who did learn to row at university, who made, you know, reserve crews, and they've kept persevering at it and have eventually, you know, gone into the GB under 23 8. So I think it's not only are they here to race for themselves, but actually they're setting a fine example for the other young women and girls here that aspire to get that international vest at some point.
Yeah, very impressive show. You can just see there Holly Dunford in the 4 seat, laying down the smack. And it's good to see Plymouth and Bristol represented in this crew. We often talk about or extol the virtues of Leander and Molesey and Marlow and UL as some of the biggest and most successful clubs on the rowing circuit. But Plymouth and Bristol, with a competitor or an athlete each in this crew, and it's good to see that they're developing athletes for the international stage, and obviously paying dividends here because this under-23 crew, although they may yet face sterner tests in the competition, they have quite comfortably dispatched the attentions of Drexel Dragons. So we will return to the start with more Championship 8 action to watch. It's Yale University, their C crew, I believe, up against the University of Iowa, and that's their B crew. Here we go, those two crews have left the start. It's Yale on the Berkshire station and the University of Iowa.
I think the Yale crew is actually a mixture of their athletes from their first and their second varsity 8s. There's a few from the first... varsity 4s, sorry.
Well, these two crews pretty well matched, as you'd expect at championship level, as they leave Temple Island. At the moment, Yale struggling to contend with the immense power of the Iowa crew.
Still all to play for, though. There's still a lot of contact, but it does look like Iowa are just seeking out with every stroke at the moment from the images that we're seeing on the screen.
So I don't believe there is a Yale C crew in this race, or in this event. So my understanding is this is either the Yale B or A crew. Either way...
Yale have 2 crews in this category is what we're trying to get at,
Yeah,
I think
absolutely.
saying.
And the 6th seat of the Yale boat is actually a 3-time Ivy League champion. So she knows what she's doing. American collegiate rowing system is one of the most venerable in the world. Consistently produce genuinely world-class athletes. And Yale, although they're having a good race and they look very cohesive, very together, the University of Iowa just a bit more punch at the front end and really sending that on.
And they are just eking out with every stroke. I mean, they're almost going stroke for stroke here. But it does just look that they've got a little bit more power in that boat.
There's nothing quite like 2/8 swinging past you, is there? The roar and the noise is a cacophony. And then that distinctive sound of the umpire's launch following in their wake.
Particularly with the Americans' crews coming past, you do have a tendency to have a little bit more emphasis on the back end. You really do get that clunk of the collars in the gates as they come past.
So Iowa this year
But
finished third in the Big Ten Conference Championship and 11th at the NCAA Championships. So a crew with plenty of pedigree and domestic form. But it looks like Yale are mounting a bit of a chance
Matt,
here.
there's only a couple of seats in it now.
Well, we could be in for a barnstormer.
It's looking like it could be a ferocious finish here. I mean, Yale definitely have the momentum with them, but it's just going to be a case of can Iowa defend that lead that they fought so hard for in the start of this race and defended through the middle section as well. So
Do you know what? If I was a betting man now, Joe, I'd put my money on Yale.
I think they've got the momentum going with them now.
Solid coaching program behind them as well. So much pedigree.
Absolutely. I think that one of the advantages the American universities have is that they do have such a huge pool of athletes to draw on. And also, what's for British athletes is quite a remarkable concept is that the athletes from America are travelling across a country that is so huge from regatta to regatta to compete against one another. Something we're not used to in this country, but these girls will be very, very well prepared and very rehearsed at travelling long distances to race regattas in strange places. So although I'm sure Henley Women's is very special to them, this will be nothing out of the ordinary for them. And Yale have taken that lead now. I would say that there's a quarter of a length in it now. And they have just continued building that momentum. There's definitely more than a quarter of a length there. They're eking out to nearly a length now from that camera angle. But it can be deceptive. So I will hold fire on the exact margin until we get a drone shot.
I think you're right there, Joe. A stunning middle section from Yale to take command of that heat or that quarter final of the championship eights. And we're moving on to race 174. Yale in action once again on the Berkshire station in the University of Galway Boat Club A on the Buckinghamshire station. And this Galway crew won Open Challenge 8 on the Sunday of the Met Regatta and have a multitude of European, Irish rowing, World Championship representation on board. 6-seat Fiona Murta was in the Junior World Championships in 2013. She's a 4-time Irish Rowing Championship winner, 2 times winner at the head of the Charles. She's got stacks and stacks of experience. But at the moment, Yale, the A crew, looking like they're going to be following their B crew through. They've already got a length.
But I think, as you said before, that elastic has been snapped between them. And that really is the crucial, when you're certainly when you're coxing an 8, that is the bit where you're like, right, we've got to stand on their throats now and end it, because directly that elastic is broken, it becomes not only a physical challenge and an exertion to get back on terms in an 8, but also a complete mental challenge as well, because as you said before, you can't hear them, you can't see them at this point.
Very graphic imagery, stamping on their throats. I quite like that. Yale shutting off any chance for Galway to get back into this race, despite the international pedigree and quality of athlete on board that Galway crew. I think Yale just look a class apart here, and actually they've got a couple of athletes who will be strutting their stuff at Cambridge next term, aiming to make the blue boat for the 2019 boat race. Kate Hovar and Lily Lindsay coming across the pond to mix it up.
I always find it amazing with these things, because the athletes do just seem to switch between clubs. We've got Cambridge University girls here that will probably at some point potentially row for an American university, or have previously rowed for an American university, and we've got American university athletes who now want to come and row at Cambridge. So it really is a huge an example of how everyone shares their knowledge and experience and learns from one another. But Yale's lead really is, and I think that they have taken their foot off the gas a little bit, simply because that gap is not widening any further.
Well, they have. I tell you what this is reminiscent of. I remember watching Yale in the Ladies' Plate in 2015 turn up and demolish the competition, absolutely batter the University of Washington in a similar sort of margin, in a similar sort of race with similar sort of camera angles. And Yale, every time they come across to the UK, they bring their A game. They love racing at Henley Royal Regatta. They love their Henley parties on the East Coast, and it will be no doubt be having one on this beautiful Saturday afternoon, laying down the smack here. Yale University really showing us all how it's done, and I wouldn't be at all surprised to see them coming up against either their B crew or the under 23-8.
Could be an all Yale final potentially, but I think even this 8 might struggle against that under 23 crew because they really did look polished as they came past.
So next race on the course will be one more quarter-final of the Championship 8s, followed by a couple or even 3 races in the Championship quad category, my personal favourite category. We're just watching Yale there, closing out this race so we can move back up to the start for race 175. This is contested between an Edinburgh University Molesey Boat Club, Tideway Scullers Composite on the Berkshire Station, and the University of Iowa A crew on the Buckinghamshire Station.
Looking at the uni suits as they came past, that's quite a heavily Molesey represented composite crew there. I think I saw the bow pair and the stern 3 or 4 with Molesey uni suits on. But again, a composite that does have to converge together and really gel in a very, very short period of time.
Well, it's a Edinburgh Molesey Tideway Scullers Composite, as you said, Joe. Includes the likes of Gabby Rodriguez, who's a name I'm very familiar with, having raced at a number of club regattas and head races throughout the last few seasons, and Molly Harding, who I know from her junior days at Marlow Rowing Club, both GB trialists this season. At the moment, they're not having it all their own way. The University of Iowa A crew stamping their authority on this race. As I said, if you come across from America, you've got to back yourself, haven't you?
Yeah, I don't think there's any other option if you're coming across the pond. I think you've got to come with your A game and give it all you've got. And I think there's also Henley Women's Regatta is a knockout competition. You have nothing to lose by throwing everything at it for every race that you've got. If you've got coming up against stiff competition, which this is, there is no point saving your legs unless you get through to the next round.
Just love H racing. The sound, the actual energy that it almost seems to emanate as it comes past you. It's magical. Ooh, bit of a collision there. That's a nightmare there for the Edinburgh Tideway Scullers Molesey Composite. They had a right old clash with some ducks who are now in danger of getting battered by the umpire's launch, and that threw them off their stride a little bit. That's a shame.
But I think they're back onto their rhythm now. I don't know about you, Tom, but that actually looked as if, it had a bit of a wake-up call, really, and they've just started to really just put a little bit more aggression into the catches and just actually say, we've got nothing to lose now. We've just got to throw everything at it. And they did still have contact, so it's a case of just working into your rhythm and really trusting that every time something is asked of you and the cock says we're making a move now, and you can produce it.
Well, that's the thing. You've got to have trust in the guys around you, trust in your crewmates who you've trained with for most of the year and you'll know very well. But at the moment, the University of Iowa not allowing the Edinburgh Molesey Tideway Scullers Composite a sniff. I'd just like to put on record, actually, we spoke about that GB under 23 perspective, under 23 A, and I understand the Cox is from Birmingham. She's actually horrendously an old school friend of mine who rode at Bedford Modern when she was younger. I apologise for not recognising her. Just want to put on record that I am sorry for that. But Birmingham coxing the GB perspective under 23 A, which is great to see. But focusing back on the race in hand, it's the University of Iowa in that yellow kit on the right-hand side of your picture, leading this by about a length and a half over a composite from a couple of strong, or 3 or 4 strong club crews from the UK.
I think they definitely took the race plan of get ahead and stay ahead quite literally, and that's exactly what they've done. I'd say they've had a commanding lead for the entirety of this race, and really have just defended every move that's been made. Anything that's been thrown at them by the Molesey Composite really has just been defended and kind of gone, what else can you bring?
Well, this is strong from Iowa, and actually it's worth noting a couple of results have come through. Race 172 was, as I said, a win for the Durham, Leander, Marlow, Molesey, Plymouth, Tideway Scullers, Birmingham and Bristol Composite. Say that really quickly.
Could we put any more clubs in there?
4 lengths ahead of Drexel University. Yale University saw off the attentions, that's their B crew, of the University of Iowa by a canvas, so a fantastic race there. And Yale University also progressed through in the following race, 174, by 2.5 lengths over Galway. And at the moment, it looks like Iowa, who had their B crew knocked out in race 173, are going to be seeing their A crew move through to the semi-finals of the Championship 8 category. So we are moving on to the quads. And it's race 170.